They had suggested I see a high risk pregnancy maternal fetal medicine specialist. A lot to say there. And I looked at them and thought, right now everything's stable. All my numbers look good. My prenatal blood work looked great. And I thought to myself, I looked at the doctor and I said, well, is that necessary? Do I need to go see the specialist? And I thought of my Quizify um, cards and all these questions that you have beautifully laid out for people who don't know what questions to ask. In our last episode, we spoke to Al Lewis from Quizify. And the thing about Al is he has so much great stuff to share, we just kept talking. And the conversation shifted entirely.
Every time we talk to you, there's something new. I have a wallet card in my Apple Wallet that I have found so helpful because it teaches you how to be an advocate for yourself. And I think that's one of the things that you help people, and Quizify in general sort of helps people walk through how to be an advocate for yourself. What are the questions I should be asking? What are the things I need to know to be? You got the card up, Joe.
I got the card, and I thought Al Lewis would be proud, even though I know you don't know me. But yesterday, actually, I went to the doctor. I'm expecting in August, my second child. And it's funny because I don't know if it's because I'm inching closer to 40 that I'm feeling more empowered to ask questions at the doctor. But they had suggested I see a high risk pregnancy maternal fetal medicine specialist. A lot to say there. And I looked at them and thought, right now everything's stable. All my numbers look good. My prenatal blood work looked great. And I thought to myself, I looked at the doctor and I said, well, is that necessary? Do I need to go see the specialist? And I thought of my Quizify cards and all these questions that you have beautifully laid out for people who don't know what questions to ask, right? And she said, oh, well, a consultation would be nice, and then you can go from there. And then I looked online at the website and read all through the services that they offer and thought, I'm getting the same services and advice and consultation that I'm getting at my gynecologist. So it was just one of those moments of, is that really necessary? Do I really need to go? Obviously, everybody's situation is different, but it gets you thinking about what to ask. Is there a better procedure? Is there a safer option, as your dentist example? So
Jolene, let me ask you, may I ask you what week you are in?
I am 14 weeks.
Okay. I'm glad that we mentioned this, because if you do look at Quizify to go, you will see that, in fact, there is a test that you administer in the 19th or 20th week that can give you a really excellent prediction of your risk of premature delivery.
Okay.
And with that data in mind, you can make a decision. Do I go for a truly high risk pregnancy program involves, a lot of stuff, or do I just, use my regular GYN? It's called preterm. It's right on our list, and you can even Google on preterm.com.
It's just those cards are very useful. And I think that, I did not know that existed. So I will certainly look into that and have that on hand.
Well, really, every time I sit through a podcast that you're on or a webinar that you have joined, or we're just sort of chatting in general, I know, for Jolene and I, you were very high on our list of people that we wanted to talk to because, like you said, it's things that you know that I think you bring to the surface to create awareness about. And then there are these things that people don't know, or they simply don't know how to be an advocate for themselves. And I feel like a lot of what you bring to the table helps people be better consumers of healthcare.
Well, we do say wiser consumers make healthier decisions. That's our catchphrase at Quizify, along with just because it's healthcare doesn't mean it's good for you. And of course, you also, if you have the wallet card, you have the one about controlling your ER spend. That if you use the consent, for those of you in the podcast who are not familiar with this, which is to say everybody, instead, when you have to go to the ER, do not just automatically sign what they put in front of you. Cross out where they say you agree to pay what we agree to charge, and you put in, I'll pay 2 times the Medicare rate. And guess what? You get a vastly better deal, because Medicare, for whatever its faults, is amazing at negotiating or at setting ER prices. And even if you pay 2 times a very low number, it's still a low number. It will only, when we do this, we actually guarantee that it will not have 4 figures in it. Your bill will only have 3 figures, and frankly, it probably won't even be very high 3 figures. By contrast, when was the last time you even saw an ER bill with fewer than 4 digits in it?
And my last ER bill was for a non-visit. They didn't get me even back into a room. I left from the waiting room.
In Medicare does not allow that. If you had put the consent in, you would get a bill for 0 in that case.
So that would have been much less than what I paid.
I can only imagine. And, you know, we have to do more things together. What can I tell you?
Well, thank you so very much for joining us. We're really just so lucky to have you here. Our podcast today is brought to you by Nova Healthcare Administrators. At the end of the day, every Nova associate is driven to do what's right. We want what's best for our clients and their members, and we do a great job sharing what we learn with each other. And between our colleagues and business partners, we know a lot of kind, smart, and thoughtful people who we convinced to share their tips with you.
Don't forget to leave a review, give us a like or subscribe, but more importantly, share. We'll find the insiders, you share it with the outsiders. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and pretty much wherever you find podcasts these days.